Hey everybody. It is 4:45 Eastern Standard Time on July 17th. I've been watching the news for quite a while today and been on the internet. I'm sure that you already know by now we've had two big events today. A Malaysian airliner was shot down over eastern Ukraine, an area that has been reclaimed by some pro-Russian militants. And also Israel launched a full-scale ground, air, and sea strike on Gaza, on Palestine. So first thing that happened and that I want to talk about is the Malaysian airline. 2 points that come to mind immediately as soon as I heard about it. As soon as I got up and turned the news on and saw that this plane had gone down, I questioned for a minute if it was a rerun of the stories we were watching a couple months ago when Malaysian Airlines Flight MH370 disappeared. I find it very ironic that this is another Malaysian airline. Clearly, one of two things is going on there. Either there are some people working within the Malaysian Airlines company that do not have the world's best interest at heart, or two, they've got some serious security breach errors going on, and they must be like the easiest plane to take out. There's been some stories, people saying that Putin was supposed to be on the plane and he was the intended target, and then if that's the case, then Putin did not order the strike on the plane. The other half of the story is saying that it was shot down by the pro-Russian militants in the eastern strip of the Ukraine, and I don't know. Maybe they did, but if they did, I guess the problem is that they would have done it with military equipment that Putin gave to them. So was it Russia? Was it the pro-Russian militants? Was it Ukraine? Or was it somebody else? We'll get into that conspiracy theory in a later discussion today. But I want to reflect back again on the missing Malaysia plane. When I watched the cell phone footage taken this morning by somebody there when the plane came down, this plane was not on fire. Now, supposedly, our intelligence has confirmed that the plane was hit by a missile, and I was really starting to question if it had been when I saw the footage where the plane was not on fire. In order to take a plane down without an explosion and use a missile to do so, you're going to have to just take out a wing. The plane cannot fly, obviously. Or could it be more along the lines of an EMP attack directed at just that plane? I know the last couple of months, ever since the missing Malaysia plane, I've heard stories about how they have now gotten weapons pulled together that can direct an EMP in a small area instead of it being over a big grid, and especially when you're at an elevated height like that. This plane was not on fire when it fell. It did not explode till it hit the ground. That's why there's bodies strewn all over the place out there that are still in their seatbelts, and the bodies are mangled, but they're not burnt. When I was trying to do some research and pull up some new articles, I actually ran across one on worthytoshare.net, and I'll post it in the link below. But this article was written when the missing Malaysian flight 370 went down, and it's talking about 4 passengers who were on the jet were under special investigation for the stolen passports. We remember that. It says 20 passengers were involved in cutting-edge electronic technology used for defense purposes, including electronic warfare, such as weapons that can cloak or make planes invisible and appear to vanish. it's amazing that there were these people, and I remember when this happened, but this just kind of slapped me a little bit. These people all worked for the same technology. They may have worked in different companies, but they were all working on the same product, a product that would make planes invisible, and the plane went missing, right? If the plane had exploded in air, there would have been more of a opportunity to find a debris field and locate the plane, because the parts would have been made smaller, they'd float easier. You know, when something's big and intact, it fills up with water and sinks, whereas if it's broken pieces, it has a chance for the pieces to float. I know that a Rockefeller who was involved in this technology was supposed to be on the plane, and he was the only one in this group of people that did not get on that plane. Found that interesting because he wound up with all the stocks and shares and control of the technology. Now, fast forward a couple months later, we have a plane, a Malaysian airliner, fall out of the sky and then explode. They're talking about it was a missile. So this article, as I was scrolling down through it, something else came up to my mind. It's talking about the new electronic weapons allow jamming, blinding, deafening, and more, so that a plane can possibly vanish from radar detection and security systems would not be activated. Basic radar electronic countermeasure strategies used in electronic warfare are radio interference, target modifications, and changing electrical properties of the air. In essence, this is talking about the little miniature EMP. And I have to wonder if, because we're talking about a Malaysian airline here that had these people on board, now this is a Malaysian airline that's gone down. Is that what that missile was actually one of these new miniature directed EMP type weapons. The other thing about this particular article that jumped out at me says they're quoting something out of the Daily Beast, the news organization, the Daily Beast. And it says, for example, a U.S. intelligence assessment described to the Daily Beast by current and former U.S. intelligence officials concluded an Israeli attack on Iran would go far beyond fighter plane airstrikes and would likely deploy electronic weaponry against Iran's electrical grid, internet, cell phone network, and emergency frequencies. And he goes on giving the scenarios of Israel launching an attack. Today, the plane drops out of the sky, however it came out of the sky, and boom, Israel is attacking the Gaza Strip. Coincidences? Perhaps. But very strong coincidences that I want to look further into. If any of you guys have any thoughts on that, be sure to put them in the comments below. As you know, I occasionally respond to comments, but I do see and read every single one. So I know it says the Israelis also have jammers capable of creating interference. They can send cell phone networks to go to sleep. Now, Israel and this Malaysian airline, two completely different parts of the world. Not completely different, but far enough apart that I'm not sure that there's a correlation, but this kind of just jumped out at me, that this article written a couple months ago specifically about the missing Malaysian airline happens to talk about if Israel would be to attack and what Israel's technology is. Israel is attacking, another Malaysian airliner gets shot down, taken down, falls out of the sky, whatever. I'm really interested in knowing who the passengers were on that plane today. It would be very intriguing if there were passengers on that plane that are similar or in association with passengers that were on the missing Malaysian flight. So, anyway, guys, keep yourselves alert, pay attention, and I'll be back with more later.